Check it out. That right there is a 2022 Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum, the highest trim of Escalade you can get, aside from the Escalade V, of course. I have it in my hands. I've had it for a little while, and I want to talk to you about all the cool features, my favorite features that this vehicle has. So with that, let's get going. Now, what I think is so amazing about this is the fact that this not only has a lot of amazing features, but it's all in one package. Now, you might have a vehicle that might have some of the features you see in this, but to have a vehicle that has all of these is quite outstanding, and I'm so excited to share it with you. We got to start on the outside of this vehicle. I just wanted to quickly walk around, show it to you first, and then we're going to go over some of the features. This is the Sport Platinum, which means that you get this blacked out grille here, as you can see, and everything else is pretty much blacked out on the vehicle, and it doesn't give you that, you know, that older style Cadillac vibe where there's lots of chrome, right? So I really like it. It is called the Sport for a reason. It's sporty. Now, the one of the things I would have changed if this were my own would be right here. I would probably change this traditional Cadillac logo to make it the monochromatic like we see back here. P.S. if you see this vehicle being a little dirty, you got to excuse me. I literally washed it before I drove it to this site I'm taking a picture at. But we got a lot of snow here in Northern Ontario where I'm at, and the roads are brutal because it hasn't gotten cold enough for it to freeze. So snow, and anyways, back to the vehicle. Sport Platinum, you're going to get everything blacked out. The other thing you're going to get blacked out, which is pretty cool too, is back here. Your rear exhaust tips are blacked out, and the Escalade logo here, this is something that's been upgraded, and the 600 there are blacked out. Now, the only thing I would change if this were my own vehicle, one of the things I would like, these are a beautiful 22-inch wheel there, as you can see, you know, with the kind of aluminum and dark argent color, but you can get an all black 22-inch wheel, which I think would really set off this vehicle, and obviously tint those front windows. Again, if it were my own vehicle. But again, that's the Sport Platinum. Now, inside the vehicle, I'll show you very quickly. Back here, captain's chairs, third row is a bench. All right, we'll go over some of this other stuff here in a second. I just want to show you the inside. Check out that interior color. I'm going to talk about it here in a second. Up front as well. That interior color, by the way, is called dark auburn with jet black. All right, so dark auburn with a jet black accents. I don't want to say it looks like almost like a purple. I'm not sure if the camera shows up, but that's dark auburn, pardon me, color on the inside. But let's talk about some of the amazing and cool and my favorite features that this Escalade has. All right, you want to talk about James Bond cool features? We are talking about this in the screen in front of you right now. This is called night vision. See that right there? See how it's picking up a person on the side of the road well before I might have been able to see them. Now, of course, I'm in the city, so street lights are lighting things up. But if I was in a residential area and that person back there was right on the side of the road, jogging or walking their dog, and I might not have seen them until I'm right up on top of them, that night vision system, infrared system, is going to pick them up well ahead of time. Look at how it's on this truck in front of me. You can see how it picks up the heat from the exhaust on the bottom of the truck. It's heat sensing. So where that also is going to come into play, obviously, if we talk highways, especially where I live up in northern Canada, there's a lot of big animals, big deer, big moose. There's even elk up this way where they could be on the side of the highway. Your headlights are only going to go so far, whereas the infrared and the night vision goes hundreds of yards ahead of you in order to see what could be potentially on the side of the highway, and can give you more than enough time to save yourself from from getting out of the way and knowing that that animal is there, or could potentially be coming on the highway because it'll pick it up on the side as well. It has a wide field of view, not to mention, of course, very deep as well. The night vision system is easily, hands down, one of my favorite features in this vehicle. Let's talk about one other thing. The suspension of this vehicle. This is carrying an adaptive ride control suspension. I'm not going to get into all the science of it because I don't know all the science of it. It'd take forever. But what I want to tell you is it has adaptive ride control, which basically will adjust the suspension stiffness and softness depending on the terrain. This is such a high-tech suspension that even Ferrari has used this technology from Cadillac. But not only that, it also has something called the air ride suspension. Yes, air ride suspension, which will raise and lower this to 3 different settings. Let's go inside, and I'm going to show you really quickly what it is I'm talking about right up here on the screen. So there it is right there. See this right there? Now watch when I do this. There's normal ground clearance. I can go up to increased ground clearance, which is going to raise the vehicle up. And of course, as you probably just saw there, I can also go down as well. So there's 3 different ways to adjust the suspension right there. How cool is that? Next, if you have a vehicle like this, you likely have kids or at least rear passengers, and there is no you know, expense spared when it comes to the rear passengers. Check out these seats, all the same as the front. I love that design here. Rear passengers have their rear heated seats, pardon me, and their climate control. But check out these massive 12.6-inch color touchscreens. They can have separate on either HDMI. You have all your connections down there below. Not to mention you have the navigation up here so you can see what's going on up there, and vice versa if you're going on a trip. But check these screens out, and they can be adjusted depending on, of course, if you have some sun coming in through that massive pano sunroof. That is another one of my cool features that I like on this vehicle. All right, so listen, I have a question for you. Do you stink at parking? Are you terrible at parking? Well, this Cadillac Escalade that I'm sitting in right now can not only perpendicular, but can parallel park for you as well. And I want to show you today, I'm going to perpendicular park between these two vehicles up here. I'm going to show you how it's done. So check this out. First and foremost, I press this button right there. That is the park assist button. It is going to ask me, do I want to parallel or perpendicular park? The way it's aimed right now, I want to perpendicular park, so I'm going to choose that, and I am going to choose the right because that is the right hand side. So now put the vehicle in drive, and I'm going to drive ahead. It is going to pick out a spot. It's going to sense a spot between the two vehicles to back me into. See right there, it just said to stop the vehicle and put it into reverse. Actually, it might park on the other side of that car, but either way, it is parking the vehicle for me. All I am doing right now, yeah, it's going to park on the other side of this Ford car here. All I have to do is actually control the throttle, control the gas pedal, so I'm not going 100 miles an hour. By the way, this has a safety feature which would stop you if you're going too fast and going to hit something anyways, which is pretty cool. But again, it is doing all the steering for me. I don't have my hands on the steering wheel whatsoever. Check that out. Perfect parking. Dunzo. How much better? Look at that. Oh, it wants to straighten me out. That's how perfect this one is. That is crazy. It actually wants to make sure that we are straightened out. You can actually see right here on the backup camera as well that it's just trying to center us in between the lanes. That is pretty amazing. How cool is that though, right? Especially for those of you who are nervous for parking. More so, I think, you know, if you're going to try to parallel park, I think is where most of us would have trouble. Parking complete. Check that out. The park assist on the Cadillac Escalade. All right, what about seats? Of course, aside from the fact that these are amazing looking seats, one of the best looking interiors I've ever seen in any GM vehicle, bar none, period, is this here. I like the fact that it has an actual design to it, because typically we're used to seeing just a plain leather, right? So, and we're gonna talk about these here in a second as well. But the seats, why am I talking about those? Because this button right here does something that's pretty cool, and I want you to check this out on the screen here, if I can get it going. Of course, it has massaging seats. Yes, you know, you have your seats here that are heated and cooled, of course. But check the fact out that you have memory, or not memory, pardon me. You have memory seats. We'll talk about that too. But you have massaging seats. How amazing is that? I use it on the long trip from Toronto, Ontario, back to Northern Ontario, where I live at, and I will tell you firsthand, they are awesome. So another cool feature of the Cadillac Escalade is the lighting sequence it has when you walk up to it. Check those taillights out. Not to mention, it's all lit up here. The door handle's lit, the puddle lamps are awesome. It even has a Cadillac logo for the puddle lamp there. And of course, obviously check out the lamps here in the front. And then again, here's that Cadillac logo out off the side as part of the puddle lamp. Pretty cool feature. All right, so moments ago, of course, I was talking about the rear seats and how you'll have passengers in this, and it's a big vehicle, so that third row is quite a distance away. I want to show you a really cool feature here. Check this out. Under settings, if I go there and I go under voice, I go with conversation enhancement, pardon me, check this out. This works so that when I'm talking, it talks through the microphones right there, heads all the way to that back row. I can talk at a normal tone, and the third row passenger can hear me clearly. Not to mention, when that third row passenger talks, it comes out through my speakers up here, and I can hear them as well. That is an amazing feature, so you're not screaming back and forth. I will tell you though, if you and the wife are talking with the kids in the back, you might want to turn that microphone off because they can hear you quite clearly. Check this out also, by the way, suede headliner in this thing. They don't spare any expense because this is real wood here as well, but that's not what I'm going to talk about right now. That is one of the things I like about it. But the other thing I want to talk about, remember I mentioned these here, these headrests? That is because there is speakers in here. You know how many speakers are in this? 36 speakers in this AKG surround sound system. The clarity is amazing, and of course it helps with that right there that I was just talking about moments ago, that conversation enhancement. But the clarity is amazing. I love the stereo system in this. It's just Cadillac-esque for sure. All right, so we can't talk about the Escalade and Cadillac without talking about this feature right up here, which they came out with first, which is the autonomous, semi-autonomous driving feature called SuperCruise. And why I'm pointing to this is because this is part of the process, not to mention this in front of me here. So first of all, if you can see this little, button here, little screen here, that is what's gonna look at my eyes, all right? Even though I have sunglasses on, you can still tell if I'm looking at the road. Once I'm looking at the road, I have my cruise on, adaptive cruise, of course, obviously. What I can do is there's a button here on the steering wheel with a little steering wheel, okay? I click that button, that'll light up in green, which is indicating that SuperCruise is good. I didn't have a lot of people around me, obviously, at this time, so obviously it's gonna work well. Now, as you can see, I have my hands off the steering wheel. It's keeping the cruise control on. As you will be able to see, of course, we're on a straight line right now, but when we do get to corners, which is going to be coming up here, you'll see that it will turn for itself. It'll keep you in its lane. It's using something called LiDAR. It's basically, of course, mapped geography of the roads. In fact, GM Cadillac has up to 400,000 miles of roads in Canada and the United States. I'm up on a 4-lane highway here in Northern Ontario, Canada, pretty rural area, and it's working here. So again, though, it has to be a divided highway. It can't be a 2-lane highway or when traffic is oncoming for obvious reasons, right? So again, as you can see, it is steering, it is keeping me in the lane. It will use the adaptive cruise control portion, of course, to slow down when it's getting closer to other vehicles. And it also uses all the sensors in the vehicle to determine when it's safe to pass or not. So for example, if I hit the turn signal, again, I'm not touching the throttle, the gas, I'm not touching the steering wheel, I'm doing nothing other than, of course, concentrating on the road. What you can do is if I hit the signal, it'll actually change lanes for us. So checks first, changes the lane, I hit that signal off, there we are, we're in this lane now. And that's how you can pass people, obviously, right? If you're getting up to somebody, it's gonna start slowing down from the adaptive cruise, you turn that signal. Now the cool part is there is a transport coming way back there behind me, but if that transport was close enough that it deemed it would be unsafe, due to the speed that transport going versus how fast we're going, it wouldn't allow the vehicle to turn in, it would say canceled. Now, there's some other things about this as far as, safety perspective. Of course, obviously, the idea behind this is some people think, well, I'm gonna be able to sleep and text on my phone as it drives. That is not the case. This is actually very sensitive, and I've tried it, just by looking away a little bit just to see what would happen, and it's pretty reactive to when you aren't paying attention. Initially, it'll flash blue, and then eventually it'll flash red, and when it flashes red, what it's gonna do is actually slow the vehicle down and pull you off to a safe shoulder. Because again, maybe you fell asleep, maybe you passed out, or again, you're not paying attention and it does not want the SuperCruise to be used. It'll become deactivated, and again, it'll pull you off onto the shoulder. So it doesn't just become deactivated and then leave you hanging and gonna run off the road. It'll actually pull off the road for you. This system is so cool. Now, keep in mind, the one thing I do have to tell you, you do have to have an OnStar subscription. So of course, it needs to have the the satellite mapping, of course, to where you are. So keep in mind, if you want the SuperCruise in your vehicle, and you're lucky enough to actually get it, because of course we do know there has been constraints on these SuperCruises, not only in the Cadillac Escalade. See, I took my eyes off there for a second. Not only in the Cadillac Escalade, but also in those Sierra AT4X, for example, Sierra Denali Ultimate. Those trucks there are not going to have the SuperCruise in a lot of cases, just because they couldn't get them. So all that being said, OnStar is a subscribed service that you need to get in order for the SuperCruise to work. But what an amazing system this is. I love it here on this 4-lane. If I'm going, on a long trip, it does relax you a little bit. Maybe I could eat my, hamburger along the way, whatever it is, as long as I'm still paying attention to the road. But I don't have to have my hands on the steering wheel. It does the driving for you. Very smart, intuitive system. SuperCruise, what an amazing feature, again, that this Cadillac Escalade offers. All right, so this cool feature might seem, silly or trivial, but I really like it. It's the ambient lighting that's inside the Cadillac Escalade here, as you can see. Now, the cool part about it is, here, I'll show you, if we go to the home page here and we slide across and go to ambient lighting, you can actually change the color, right? So there's pink, we can go over to green for an example. But what's also cool is you can go all the way over here, and this will automatically cycle through the colors. It'll change the colors for you. Again, minor detail, but I think it is really cool, and yet another cool feature of the Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum. Next up, in terms of amazing features, is right in front of me here. This is what they call AR navigation. That is a real-time live camera that is showing in front of the vehicle as you are driving. So of course you have your regular navigation over here, which is going to give you the destination. This one here is going to tell me where to turn, when to turn, how many minutes, how many meters. I want to go to a shopping center, which is just up here, and it's going to tell me to turn up here in about 250 meters. The cool part is right now it's of course telling me right here to go through, you know, to go straight. And as you can see it there on the screen, it is giving me where to turn and when to turn in, which is right here. Look at that big arrow right there. And once you pass that, you know you've gone past where you should have gone into, right? AR navigation is an amazing feature that the Cadillac Escalade has. This is a feature I really like that some of you may not like because you're just not used to it yet, but it's the electric precision shift that they've got right here. I love this feature because it allows for some things here. It allows for some storage down here. Of course, you have your storage here off the side as well. But I like this because it's really intuitive, and I always like when I'm driving to kind of have my other hand, I know I'm not supposed to, but have my hand on something here. It's really easy to use. You just press the side button and then pull back to put it into drive, and once you get to your destination or wherever you're going to park, you just hit the park right there like that, and it'll park it for you. So what I like about that, of course, is what we're just seeing there. Now, the other thing that's kind of cool about it is what they call, for lack of better terminology, idiot proof. And what I mean by that is, by accident, if you were just to hit that, you know, power button, the push button here to turn it off, and you were still in drive or reverse, it'll automatically put it in park. Same thing is if you were just to get out of the vehicle for whatever reason, you forget to press that button to put it into park, you open that door, it'll automatically shut it off and put it into park. So a cool feature that I love is this right here. Now below here, I also want to show you is the fact that, especially if you're shorter in arms, I am not, I'm lucky that way, but even still, I have used this when I was on the highway when I didn't want to reach up here in the night. This, you can change, of course, your volume and stuff from there. Of course, you can still do that from the steering wheel, which is a very capable steering wheel, but you can also go through different information on here. And if we go to the home page here, which I can do from here, we can go through different things, and I can click on that to choose whatever it is I want. So again, really cool feature. I love the accessibility to have this right close to you here as well. It's just a great Cadillac feature yet again. All right, next up, I gotta talk about cameras. I know a lot of you have backup cameras, of course, in your vehicles and other, you know, surround vision cameras, but check out how amazing this is. There are so many cool features in terms of this camera. Obviously, tons of different views. Of course, when you put it in reverse, you can have the round vision on top, but check out this view right here. Look at that. I can see all the way around the vehicle, where I'm parked, what's in front of me, what's behind me. How amazing is that? Especially in a big vehicle and one you may not be used to driving yet. It even has the trailer cameras that can go right down on the hitch. You know, a ton of different camera views. I love this aspect of a big vehicle like this. Hey, I'm driving a $130,000 vehicle around. I want to make sure I'm not going to hit something, right? And if we slide up from the rear view camera, how about this? The rear view camera mirror. This is a full-time streaming live camera, HD quality, that shows behind you. There's a couple good things about this. I actually love it. I love it at nighttime. I feel it works a little bit better. Not only that, but it gives you a wider field of view than your typical rear view camera. And if you have people with big heads or tons of things stuffed in the back behind you and you can't see that rear window, you still have the rear vision here. Not only that, but you can adjust some things on it. So you can adjust the brightness if it is too bright at night, for example, as you saw there. I can also hit this button. It'll adjust how far in or out it is zoomed, okay? And I can also adjust one more thing, which is the height of it right there. Love that feature. All right, so aside from the massaging seats that we talked about, the fact that they are heated and ventilated, of course, I also love another feature, which I know some of your vehicles have, but they might not have all of these. Of course, the memory seats. Again, I am a taller individual. My wife is a shorter individual. This makes a big difference. Why? Because, of course, when I do the memory seats, it'll adjust the seat, all right, which is 18-way positional, so there's a lot of ways that can change between drivers. It'll adjust the mirrors, the exterior mirrors for you as well, because again, when you're sitting there, that's going to be a different angle. And it actually does the steering wheel as well, because the steering wheel is power. So in and out, up and down, power. So when you have the memory seat set up, it'll adjust the steering wheel, the seats, and the outside mirror to where you love it, so you don't have to keep changing it over and over every time you get in and out of the vehicle. All right, this might not be one of the coolest features, but I do want to talk very quickly before we get to it about what's underneath that hood. This one here has a monster 6.2 liter V8 producing 420 horsepower, 460 foot-pound of torque. However, you do have the option to get the Duramax 3 liter turbo diesel, which is much better on fuel. So you either want the power or the fuel. Either way, you have your choice, and it's great. And I do have a video talking about the difference in fuel efficiency between a Duramax and the 6.2 liter if you're curious, so stay tuned for that.